I'm Alexis.
And I'm Tiffany, and we're the hosts of Legit KidLit, a video series where we get to see into the secret and silly lives of authors and illustrators.
We love to celebrate and promote books, but most of all, we want to say hey to all you readers out there trying to find that right book for you. We hope that you can find some new reads after today.
Padma Venkatraman is an award-winning author who has worked as chief scientist on oceanographic ships, spent time undersea, directed a school, and has lived in 5 different countries. She has also written over 20 books. Her most recent books, The Bridge Home and Born Behind Bars, are some of our favorites.
Welcome, Padma! I'm a huge fan.
Hello, Padma. We are so stoked to have you here on Legit KidLit, episode 61. Can you tell us why you feel books are so important?
That books mean so much to me, and I think books mean so much to children today, is that a book is only half a story. A book is kind of like a bridge between an author and the reader, and the reader has to bring so much to it. And I think that's why a book is so important, because the reader is imagining, the reader is actively creating with an author while they read.
How did you come up with your idea for your first middle grade novel, The Bridge Home?
The Bridge Home came to me the way that all my books come to me, as a voice, the voice of one sister speaking to another sister. I had no idea why the girls were apart, but I knew they loved each other, and so I had to find out what had happened to them. And I followed the voice, and that voice and that story became The Bridge Home. It was a story of 2 girls who ran away from an Indian village and ended up homeless in an Indian city, where luckily they find 2 boys who become their friends, adopt a little dog, and live on an abandoned bridge. And for a while they have that sense of friendship and found family. Then something happens that's awful, and then they're driven away to a graveyard. When I came to that scene about that graveyard in my book, I remembered something. I had a friend called Indra when I was a child, and she had been forced to live in a graveyard, to hide in a graveyard for a little while. And I know that even though I'm quite old now, as you can see by the gray hair on my head, and I'm a scientist, I don't believe in ghosts, not during the day anyway. I don't think I'd be able to live an entire night in a graveyard all alone. And yet my friend did that. And she told me her story, and when she was telling me her story, she said to me, "Padma, will you write this one day?" Because she knew I wanted to be a writer. I was always scribbling in little notebooks, and I promised that I would. And this book, The Bridge Home, is that promise I gave her.
Hi, Padma. What books would The Bridge Home be in conversation with?
I was asked, what books do I think that The Bridge Home is in conversation with? I've been told by a lot of people that it reminds them of Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, and that comparison makes me very grateful, because Charles Dickens, whatever he was or wasn't, was somebody who was very concerned about children in difficult economic situations, and his books made changes in the world the way that I sincerely hope my books will continue to do. It's also been compared to The Family Under the Bridge, and I think that's probably because in The Bridge Home, we meet a family of children who are homeless, just as in this book. And the books, though, that I think The Bridge Home is more closely in conversation with are these 3. Jacqueline Woodson's piece Locomotion, because it is written in second-person direct address or direct address, which is the same form in which The Bridge Home is written. I read this book a very long time ago, but I think it has stayed in my heart and in some way inspired the way in which The Bridge Home was written. The House on Mango Street is another book that is just so important for me as a writer, that I read and was inspired by, and I think continues to influence my work. And the first scene in The Bridge Home, in which Viji runs away from home, in some way that home she runs away from resembles, in my mind, the house on Mango Street. And finally, I like to think it's also in conversation with One Crazy Summer, because in One Crazy Summer we have girls who take a journey and there is humor in the book. And I like to think one of the things that you see in The Bridge Home, even though it's about difficult circumstances, is a lot of joy and laughter.
What are 3 things you love about The Bridge Home?
My 3 favorite things about The Bridge Home are, first, that there's a lot of humor in the book. The book is about homelessness and homeless children and lots of serious things, but it's still full of laughter, because I think that's one of the most important things that I learned as a child, was that you can get through trauma if you preserve your sense of humor. My second most favorite thing about the book is that it's written in direct address, second person, which is quite a challenge as an author, and very few books are written that way, so it's quite unusual. My third and most favorite and most important thing about The Bridge Home is that it has changed children's lives for the better and made a positive impact on so many children around the world, and that is a gift more than anything I could have hoped for.
Can you tell us a little bit about your newest middle grade novel, Born Behind Bars, and why you felt it was so important to write it?
I felt it was important for me to write Born Behind Bars because this is a story about believing in yourself and never giving up, even in the most desperate situations when no one else around you believes in you. It's based on a true story, and Born Behind Bars is about a boy who's born in jail and then set free on the streets of India when he's 9 years old. But his mother, who has been wrongly accused and wrongly imprisoned, remains there, and no one believes that he can set her free, but he refuses to give up and stop trying. I also felt it was so important for me to write Born Behind Bars because even in the United States, even today, people are wrongly accused and wrongly imprisoned. And if you loved The Bridge Home, one of the characters reappears in Born Behind Bars.
We would love to hear a poem from the anthology you wrote in. Thank you.
So grateful to be included in this wonderful anthology. Thank you. Edited by Miranda Paul. And I will be reading from my poem, Nothing to be Grateful For. Now, Nothing to be Grateful For is about an invention that isn't credited to the cultures to which it needs to be credited to, because so much of the science and mathematics that we have today was invented by people who were not European. And this is about one of those inventions. If you listen closely to the poem or you look at one of the beautiful drawings in this book by Marlene Miles, who is the illustrator, it will give you a clue as to what that invention is. Nothing to be grateful for. Indians drew me. Arabs grew me. Without me, you'd have no rockets, no laptops, no phones. Zero. With me came a whole new world.
That is so beautiful. Thank you.
Padma, thank you so much for your inspiration and your willingness to write books from your heart. We look forward to many, many more.